What's engineering? Probably you're wondering first, what is an engineer? And it's very important because sometimes people confuse engineering with science or scientists, maybe chemical engineer with chemist, or maybe you're wondering computer science and not a computer engineering. So first things first, what's engineering? So I would say it's a very important area of daily life, technology, science, all has to do with engineering. So an engineer is any kind of people which will either invent, design, analyze, build, and test machines, system, structures, even materials in order to fulfill objectives and requirements for society. So I know invent maybe you think is a very fancy and very maybe only genius can do that, but actually no. You can be working in a machine and invent a new way in which the machine will work more efficiently. Of course, you're not going to patent that, you're not going to get rich, but you are going to save energy, cost, or maybe even time. So design, many times, I don't know, look at your computer. Someone needs to design everything. The keyboard, the insides, the electronics, all the chips, how do they connect, the electrical input, the screen, etc. Analyze. It's very important that you, or at least all engineers, have analytical minds. They must be always wondering how to improve, how to be creative, innovative, etc. Also, the idea is to build. So once you have designed and analyzed it, you want to manufacture the product. So that's very important. You want to manufacture it very efficiently. Many times, I've stated before, guys, you want to test machines in order, or systems in order to improve daily life. And this is not only for domestic use, maybe you imagine yourself with your iPhone, but of course the transportation, logistics, imagine moving a container, how efficiently can you do it? Maybe if you take one day and make it 18 hours, you're saving up 25% of the time, and eventually that saves up more money, and instead of waiting 1 or 2 days for your product, it arrives earlier. Now, it's very important that it sounds very fancy, but eventually what you want to do as an engineer is to consider all the limitations or technical impossibilities. Is it practical or not? What are the regulations? Maybe you have state regulations, federal regulations. Maybe something is not safe. You could say maybe that would be awesome if we can pressurize a system up to 1,000 bars. But is it safe? What will happen if that will implode? So maybe you can achieve a higher yield or purity, but safety is an issue. You will have some people there working there. Is it fair to make this process? Maybe no, it's very dangerous. There can be some how to say, safety issues. So yeah, maybe not to go that way. So that's the idea of an engineer, to account for the limitations and see what is the best output. Also, many times you're going to see that even though that's technical, you can do it technically or in practical life, but the cost is too high. So for example, purification of ocean water, of course it can be done, but it's very expensive right now, because then water prices are going to increase and eventually it's going to be, let's say, economically viable. So let me show you some engineering examples. I want to show you some products, and I try to include plenty of different areas of engineering. So for instance, computing. You can have software, so you know there are software engineers. They work in order to improve software, the user interfaces, make it easier for users to interact with technology and so on. Or they can be working on hardware, maybe as stated before, a laptop or the networks, the cables, etc. The automobile, well, autos, you know, it's a very important part of life. They require metal, they require aluminum, maybe even rubber for the wheels, glassware for these windows, and so on. The accessories, of course, you need to have a lube, oil, gasoline. That is also chemical engineering. This is the outside, maybe is more on automobile design, mechanical engineer, and so on. So weapons, yeah, believe it or not, it's a very large market for engineers because they require materials, they require explosives, maybe even painting, coatings. They require a high let's say, very fine chemicals in order to be very, very precise. Then chemicals such as Kevlar textiles, maybe you see this is a jacket, but it actually is bulletproof. And as stated before, gasoline. In construction, well, this is civil engineering mostly, but there are, let's say, buildings. How can you make higher buildings efficient or energy friendly, environmental friendly? How can you improve sizing? Imagine if you can have a very, very high building where you will be using less area on the city, yet you will be able to have plenty of people. And also there will be logistical and transport engineers which have the task to move efficiently the people. And electrical applications, everything requires electricity nowadays, especially in the city. So how can you move electricity efficiently? Why do we use these, I would say, beautiful in engineering, but they are not so friendly for your human eye? You're in a car here, you don't like to see that, you want to see nature. So how can you improve that? Underground grids, maybe, I don't know. Now, how do engineers look like? Maybe you are used to see people with helmets on protection gear and so on, but actually there are plenty of normal people. They can be working a desk, they can be working in a computer, some might be working on a storage place, some are maybe working in offices with air conditioning, very nice. Some other will be in the area working in, maybe this is a electrical network, or if you're a chemical engineer, you're maybe checking the processes, how is the equipment working, efficiencies, and so on.